is up, guys? So we finally found winter. This intellipack had a heat lockout yesterday. We had a guy out yesterday evening to look at it, so I'm not even going to go to the control panel. Basically, flame safeguard was going into lockout, so he wasn't getting a spark, so he thought maybe the flame safeguard, maybe the spark igniter. So we're going to start there, tear this all apart, see what we got inside. So, you can see we do have an alarm. Airflow switch is closed. So when we reset this, I might have to set it in heat mode, but I should get, it'll go through a pre-purge, and then I should get 120 volts to my spark igniter on these two wires here. I'm gonna have to cut and splice the wires so I can get my meter on them and see if I'm getting 120 volts. If I'm not getting 120 volts, then my problem lies here. If I am getting 120 volts, I should be getting a spark in here at my pallet. And we might have to investigate that. We can tear this out and look inside here. But first of all, I'm going to grab a manometer so I can give this one shot and make sure my solenoid valve, pilot valve, is opening. And I got decent gas pressure there. And then from there, as long as I'm getting a spark, this thing ought to fire. This is an old one. And it's a VAV system, so this heater doesn't run all the time. It only runs morning warm-up and daytime warm-up. So it's not like this thing fires like a normal rooftop. But it does have, hell, it's got 30 years on this thing. So we could have a problem with the flame safeguard, but I would lean more towards spark igniter, gas pressure problem. These flame safeguards are pretty reliable. It's an RM 78095, and that's a newer model than some of the other ones that I've seen. So let's start there. We'll get a manometer hooked up and check our voltage. Got a manometer hooked up, we're zeroed out. Got my meter hooked up, and we're gonna hit reset. And we're gonna turn it on voltage where it should be. Max heat, all the VAVs drive open first, 100%. Electric heat goes off in the VAVs. The blower ramps up, and the heat on the unit comes on until we raise the space temperature to a preset 71 or 72 degrees, whatever it may be. Every building's a little bit different. I do have, all right, so it went to pilot. I had 120 volts. I didn't see gas pressure. I was getting ready to go to the other side. There goes my 120 volts pilot. Not getting any gas pressure. So now we're going to move down to our solenoid valve here. Figure out where the power for the solenoid valve comes from. Check power at the solenoid valve and see if we got fire, because I'm not getting an output to my pilot. So, to locate our pilot solenoid, we're going to come over here and find 4L9 pilot solenoid. It's line 14. So we come over here, line 14, follow it across. We're going to find 4L9. This is my pilot solenoid. One line, the common line, is fed from TB142. That's wire number 184, A, B, C, and F. So that, if you look down there, you can see my 184. That's connecting to terminal 2. And then back to our pilot solenoid, the other side is going to be wire 195, TB15, number 9. So this is TB15. Y'all can't see it, but that's 195 terminal 9. So we got that there. Let's see if we're getting power to our solenoid. We're gonna have to wait for the purge again. Might be back feeding through that solenoid or something. I never really heard it click, but there's a little tiny solenoid, so you may not hear it. You see, I got 120 volts. Still no gas pressure. And alarm. So, my flame safeguard's good. It's doing what it's supposed to. I've got a problem on my gas side. So, I'm going to have to figure out why I'm not getting gas to my pilot. And once we resolve that problem, I'll bet this thing fires. So, I did verify my main gas line. I do have gas pressure in. Something I missed or didn't really look at when I got here. I do have a little snow. We got all this snow last night. A little snow in that regulator vent. I wouldn't think that would have caused us to lock out. Except look, my gas pressure went up some. 8 seemed kind of low. So that 11 or so would be more normal. I don't know. My min and max you can't read anymore. So it's back down to 8. So I'm going to have to check on that. See what my minimum gas pressure has to be. But nonetheless, my pilot should still light. Some modulating burner. I ought to be able to cut this valve off here. That pilot should light, and that pilot should stay lit. So, that solenoid valve is going to be failed. Let's see if we can get one of those. One more thing, before I jump the gun, there is a small regulator here that feeds to my pilot. I'm going to have to verify that this is feeding gas through it, because it could be this regulator and not the pilot, solenoid itself. Nonetheless, with it being of this age, I'm going to try to get both anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and call on them and see if I can get them, and then that should solve our problem. So lastly here, I still didn't get an absolute on what is the minimum gas pressure, but 8 inches water column, especially for a burner, this is a 100-ton burner. That's not going to be enough gas pressure. It's going to be somewhere around 11, I would think, is the minimum. So I was going to increase it, and it's locked up. It looks like it's just old and corroded. So I cleared the vent, but it looks like maybe there was some moisture inside. And I can't adjust it all. I can't even adjust it either way. So I'm going to change that regulator as well. Problem is, I can probably get that MaxTrol regulator easy. Solenoid valve and that other regulator, I might be able to find a small one. That solenoid valve is going to be a problem. So I've got all the information, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do to make this work, even if it's, maybe I can find a different type of solenoid valve or something. So that's where I'm at here. So sometimes you just smack it with a hammer and get the thing to work. Finally got a little bit better. I've still got a regulator issue here. And you can see I smacked the shit out of solenoid. But I've got temporary fire, so I can warm the building up, keep the customer happy. I cranked this regulator all the way in too. So the train doesn't have any parts. Basically, I can get this one in a few days or something or another. The MaxTrol stuff I should be able to get locally. So I'm going to leave this run, and I'm going to run the supply house and see if I can get some of these parts and come back and change all this out. But, you know, a little crescent wrench to the solenoid valve works every once in a while. There goes high fire. That's how cold the building is. It's still running. It took me about an hour and a half to get back with all the parts. They're aftermarket, so we're gonna have to push down, but all the ratings are the same, so we should be fine. I just have to set my pilot and tear all this gas line apart. I'm gonna do all my prep work first, so I don't have it shut down for just a minimal amount of time, and I can leave the heat running. So, put all our stuff in, the regulator and cap. First, we're gonna check our incoming gas pressure. See where we're at. A little bit better, but about the same. We're gonna adjust up now that I have the capability of adjusting. We're just gonna go clockwise. Until we get, I'm thinking about 11 to 12 is gonna be fine. 8's just pretty damn low. Um, 14 to 15 is getting right around that half-inch PSI, which everything's typically rated, and which everything here is rated too, so we can't go too high. But we'll leave it right there about the 12 mark. I like that. Much happier with that than 8. And then I'm going to switch over, put my plug back in, switch over to the pilot. We'll check the pilot pressure. So now we're on our pilot. Everything's on. I'll tell you what we can do. Let's turn the main burner off. Hit our reset. Everything's starting to melt on me. I'm getting wet. I'm dripping. I had nowhere dry to stand. Busted my ass a couple times taking that unit apart and everything else. So we'll wait for the time delay and see what our pilot pressure is. Here goes our pilot. We're at 1. Got a good flame. It should be a little higher than that. I'm gonna go ahead and bump that pilot pressure up. And you can see I'm sensing a good flame. So with that main burner, it's trying to fire too. We'll leave it. I've adjusted almost all the way in. The inlet pressure may need to come up a little bit, but if I'm holding the pilot, I'm happy with that. So we're just gonna leave it right there for right now. 'Cause I adjusted that pretty far. This is the same rating, was 3 to 6 on that regulator there. So, but as long as we're holding the flame, I'm good with it right now. It just, the blower kicked the high fire. But we don't have a burner yet. We do now. Looks like a much better burner than I had before. So let's go check our supply temp. We're gonna let it run like this for a little bit. Make sure nothing else weird happens. We'll get all our caps back in. I gotta come back and tidy all this stuff up. I'm just trying to get the heat on right now. All right, so So supply temp still pretty low. We're getting up 60, 66. It's continuing to rise. I'm not sure where the supply temp sensor is on this, but everything's looking pretty good. We're gonna watch it for a little while, make sure our temperature comes up. I'm running an extremely cold building. Just in comparison, when I got back after it rained for a while with the low gas pressure, I was running like 63, and that was after a good while of run time. So that temperature's climbing. I'm gonna call this one good after I watch for a little while. Like I said, I'm just allowing the space temp to come up and allowing it to run for a little while before I shut it back down and tidy everything back up. And I'll go through and check my all my connections, make sure I ain't got no leaks nowhere. So I didn't plan on filming this, but here we are. Let me know what y'all think. Leave the trade better than you found it. See you guys next time.